I'm Jay from Hogan Guitars.
I'm Alex from Written Science.
And today we're going to be talking about the differences between Helix and Amplitude and why you should go for each. I'm a Helix user. I've been using Helix now for about 14, 15 months.
I've heard of Helix, but I always was driven to Amplitude. I think maybe 2.5 years ago, when I saw that I was kind of limited, because I was in an apartment, and then I needed to record high quality stuff without all the physical amps, and then I was looking for the amps that I wanted to use, and then I just stumbled upon Amplitude 5 and 4. Well, I think it was 4 only back then. I think 5 wasn't released yet. And then I don't know, it's pretty much history.
Yeah, it's this is the good thing. Either one you go for, the fact that if you're in a recording situation and let's just say for ease, like you haven't got all the money in the world to spend.
Yeah.
There's nothing else out there like it, VST or hardware, but it saves you on spending thousands and thousands of pounds on amps, miking up, waking your neighbours up, having your missus screaming at you at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, we just shut up.
Yeah, exactly, and just having to borrow all the gear, even buy it, the mics and all that, and yeah, it's just so much stuff that you can do within the software, like replacing. You don't have to walk 20 feet back to a control room just to replace one mic, from the cab.
Yeah. So for anybody who's new to it and doesn't understand, what we're basically talking about is recording at home. You basically only have 3 options. You can either mic up a amp, which, like I said, is going to wake everybody in your street up.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go the hardware route, which I have, with something like the Helix.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in a floorboard or a rack system. You use that as your audio interface, and it comes with all the effects already built in. Or you can go the route Alex is talking about, where you have a audio interface and you use VSTs, amp modeling software. So on that note, let's talk about the price point, the entry point of these things.
Yeah. So Amplitude has a free version as well. So obviously for a lot of people, it's scary to when they see the prices. I have to drop at least like 200 or something like that on it, and then it goes all the way up to 700. So that's why they have the free version, where you can have like a taste of the models. Obviously it's quite limited, otherwise nobody would buy it. Yeah. But that's the free version with about 41 models, where you can just combine amps with different heads and different pedals.
Just give you a taste of what you would get if you actually bought it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can see that all the stuff you would pay for is included as well with just a lock. So you can see, like, all right, if I'm gonna upgrade my package, then you see like, oh, the Mesa is locked, for example. So if you wanted to have that one, then what you will get when you pay for the high-end versions.
There's different levels in there with Amplitude. You haven't just got like the free version and then everything. You've got tailored packages for individual needs.
Yeah, exactly. So you got Amplitude SE, which I actually have no idea about what the package contains, because you got the free one with 41 models, and then you got the SE, I think, with around 100 models. Then you got the 5, and then you got the 5 Max. So I think you just have to do a deep dive on the site just to see what it's all about.
Do a bit of research. We're going to try and guide people, but we don't have all the facts in front of us. There is still going to be some research needed here, but I think the idea being, depending on how much you want to pay, you're still going to get something that's usable. It's just, if you pay that little bit more, you're going to get a lot more.
Oh yeah.
Now here's the thing with the Helix. The cheapest I have found, the entry point would be $449 £449 for the HX stamp.
Yeah.
Which is, it's actually designed to be part of your pedal board, your live system, right? So you go playing live, and you've got your wah, your tube screamers, all this kind of stuff, and then you've got the HX stomp as well with it, right?
Yeah.
It goes through your signal path, but you get the Helix effects for live playing. The good thing about the HX stomp is, it is a digital audio interface. It does come with the HX edit, and it does come with all the, well, not all, but it comes with a lot of the features that like the higher end Helix has.
Yeah.
For £449, which is quite a good deal. I'm pretty sure if you had a look online, you'd probably find it cheaper somewhere else. The actual Helix family, there is quite a few things now. You've got like the HX Stomp, the HX Effect, the Helix LT, which I'm running, and the Helix Rack. So a Helix LT, going off the prices from today, is £949. Now when I bought mine, I only paid £750. So
for also the physical one.
Yeah, for the physical one. That's another thing. For the basis of this, I'm only talking about the actual physical things. Helix do a VST software called Helix Native, but I won't be talking about that today. It'll be the physical versions. So with the HX Stomp, you get a digital audio interface. You do across the whole Helix family. I use the LT because it's a fully featured floorboard with wah pedal, quite a few ins and outs, which later on I'll be talking about as well. And then they do the flagship model, the Helix Rack.
At
£1,149. Now, I think everybody knows, like, when you're talking about Helix, most people presume you're talking about the rack system, because it's right up there with stuff like my mind's just gone blank. The Pro, is it Pro Tools? There's a £3,000 one that Axe Effects. The Axe Effects 3. Yeah. Everybody puts the Helix up with the Axe Effects 3s and the Kemper Profilers and the 11.
Yeah, it's an endless debate.
Yeah. So there's the big debate. Do you go Helix? Do you go Axe Effects and stuff like that? Again, researching will come across that. But for £1,149, you get a rack system, which has more ins and outs. But I went with the LT for the basis of I wanted to actually use it.
Right.
So with the rack, you're kind of stuck on the digital side of things unless you spend even more money on getting a rack controller.
Yeah.
Which, £250 on top of the £1,149 you've already spent.
So that's the one you would take to the stage, to the front, right? To use as your pedal board to turn off your delay. So
it controls the rack system.
Yeah.
For a live setting, it's a completely different setup. But for home recording, you would just use it to basically, as well as controlling the rack system, you can also control your audio interface. So you can stop, start, rewind, and everything through your floorboard, which is good, but bit of overkill. And the other thing as well, which I was actually quite impressed with when I saw, was the Pod Go. So the Pod Go being like a £300 to £350 depending on where you go. It's basically like, do you remember the old kidney bean pods? The old Line 6 kidney bean pods? It's basically the new version of that, but it's got the it's not part of the Helix family, but it does have the Helix built in. It isn't. Yeah, it is an audio interface. It doesn't have as much overhead, so you can't run as many effects at the same time. But it is a cheap option. But they seem to be like the price points.
They're both quite steep, especially if you're I don't know, just getting into it, because that's a really good or an option from IK Multimedia that they threw in this free version, because I'm sure there is like a trial for Helix as well, or kind of like a limited version.
There is a 2-week trial with the Helix Native. Which is the VST program, but again, the reason I'm not talking about the native is, if I'm being 100% honest, I wouldn't even bother with the native unless you want the Helix.
Right.
Line 6 have actually since released the packages, which just give me a second, I'll go on the website and find out what they're called. They've released some new VSTs called Metallurgy.
Yeah.
And the Metallurgies are basically Line 6's answer to Neural DSP.
Right. So you kind of have like your more metal direction tones.
Yeah, so they do 3 at the moment. You've got the Doom, the Thrash, and the Modern.
Right.
But when you buy it, you get 3 amps, you get 3 cabs, as well as an IR loader and a few pedals, just like you do with the Neural DSP.
Yeah.
But they're all based on Helix architecture, so that's why I'm not talking about the native, because it's a lot cheaper option to go with something like the Metallurgy. But I think that's going to be its own video.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same for Amplitude. It doesn't have necessarily huge metal artists, their presets, because obviously they're already tied to, for example, Neural DSP, which is by the way a different amp simulator, so they cannot probably go both IK Multimedia and Neural DSP.
Yeah, the whole ownership thing that's going on right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Companies want to brand themselves with certain guitarists, especially if you're a modern day guitarist like Mishoro or the guy from Periphery, whatever, Matt Holcomb, is it? Like anybody like that at the moment, companies want to pay them big money to say, I only use Neural DSP, so you should only use Neural DSP.
Right, exactly.
I'm just waiting for a Tim Henson one.
Yeah.
You know it's coming.
Exactly, because when you look at certain artists that are with Neural DSP, you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be with Amplitude, because a perfect example is Slash. Like he's not using the most crazy metal amps and tube screamers and crazy guitars that you would actually use in a Neural DSP setting. He's just using a standard Les Paul with a Marshall that you can perfectly hook up in an Amplitude and Helix.
Yeah, without being that guy, I have to be honest. When I see these Neural DSP things, they have a certain sound and it's a certain genre of music, and people are gonna say, "What you on about, Jay? You can make it do anything," but it's like,
it's different.
Was you there before when I was asking somebody about setting up a patch to make anybody sound like his guitar? And I was asking, do you do the old style of just sticking a tube screamer in front of an amp and not bothering with compressors and stuff, like like 90s and 2000 early new metal and stuff, where you didn't need all these things? Now they have so much compression on and all this stuff going on, where it's like the moment they take the fingers off the strings, the guitar just stops. And to me, that's like, that doesn't make sense, because I'm used to having to fight with my guitar.
And just have your natural kind of feedback and reaction, not just complete silence. Yeah. This
mechanicalized guitar tone, which, you can buy something like Neural DSP and you can make it do whatever you want, but with something like Amplitude and the Helix, you get that more authentic guitaring. You get the Slash, you get the John Petrucci and stuff, because
Brian May,
they're modeled after actual amps rather than a signal.
Exactly. Yeah.
But while we're on about price point, there is actually another price point with yours, where the audio interface, and as we just found out,
exactly,
there is a really good deal with the audio interface.
When you want to buy the Amplitude 5 Max package, on the site at the point of recording, it's up for sale for $720. So you just buy that one, and then you get like the whole activation and you unlock everything basically. But the problem is that if you're using the Amplitude 5 Max on a PC or a laptop, where is your guitar cable gonna go? So obviously,
I've just spent 700 euros and everything. I've got all these sounds I want. Right, how can I make this work? You still need to get it done.
Exactly, because a lot of people nowadays will still think that you can just use like a guitar cable, just plug it and put
plug
it in
into
jack.
the computer.
Yeah, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So if you don't want to spend another 150 or something like that on an interface, which is basically just an external sound card, right? Then you can get the bundle from the Amplitude 5 Max combined with the IK Multimedia X IO for $379. So that's actually a really good deal. It's like 50% off, you know.
This is the thing, and for anybody who's listening to this, honestly, all these companies are in competition with each other. If you want to buy something, have a look online, because they need to get rid of the hardware, and you will normally find they do a hardware and software combined package. This what we're talking about now is £349. $349,
yeah.
And I think when I had a look, it was £349, right? You're getting Amplitude 5 Max and an audio interface.
Yeah.
Let's just say the audio interface was around about 100.
Yeah,
You're
something
getting
like
Max
that.
for 249 compared to the 700 you were talking about before. These companies they're in competition with everybody else, and they need to sell more than just software. They need to push the hardware, so they're going to do combined packages, and that's, you know, anything from, like I was saying before about the Studio One, the PreSonus audio interfaces. They throw in a bundle with Studio One for a year. Guitar Rig, Native Instruments, is it who do that? Native Instruments do the Complete Control audio interface, and they throw in Guitar Rig 5 Pro with it. It's like there's a lot better deals out there when you're first starting off, and this has always been one of my biggest gripes with recording. When you're first getting into it and you're buying all your hardware, you get all your deals, but 3 years down the line, when newer stuff comes out, you're not going to buy a new audio interface just for the sake of getting cheaper software.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the thing where you buy these software with an interface just to get you started, you know. And by the way, all the links to Helix and Amplitude are in the description, because obviously this is a lot of info to take in, especially for people that are new to this world, you know. So, but that's a good point. Just to push the hardware, they just throw in a copy of Amplitude 5 Max, because obviously people are always going to do price comparison. So they go to the site and they see Amplitude 5 Max, only the software, for 720, and they can see, but I do need an external interface, so I would be, let's say, $870 in total, Amplitude plus an interface, while you can get the exact same deal for $379. Yeah, it's...
Well, this is it, and like you were saying, when you just rack that up there, you're already, 300 over the entry point of a Helix with the HX stamp.
Yeah, exactly.
And these companies know that, and they know they're not idiots. They're not going to be sat in an office somewhere going, "Oh yeah, we can sell this for 800," and people are just going to buy it. And someone comes in and goes, "Well, Helix are doing a stamp for half the price."
Yeah.
That, you know, is a physical thing that they can take with them and do other things with, and they're just going to be sat there like, "Nah, it's all right. They'll still buy our thing." No, they're going to cut the price down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's the problem nowadays, that people always wonder what to get, and sometimes they just blindly go what they see because they know they need it. But if you do a little bit extra research, you actually come across, because this is the first time in like 2.5 years that I knew Amplitude 5 Max comes with an interface. And I bought the full package because I already had two interfaces. It didn't make sense.
And that they even did an interface, like, who knew? Like, I'm pretty sure they didn't 3 years ago.
No, exactly. Maybe with the release of Amplitude 5, but still, that depends, because obviously that's the best deal you can get, you know.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
definitely. Right then, so I think we've covered the entry point there, the price points.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just I think with Helix and Amplitude together, the price differences per package is just maybe $150 difference. You know, that you get like a starter for like $149, and then the next one is $299, and then you go to $599, etc. Yeah.
But with the added thing of, if you go with the Amplitude, you need that audio interface. There's just no way around it.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so for ease of use, I think I'm gonna go here now. The Helix is one of the easiest and hardest things I've ever used, and I hate it when people say that kind of thing, because it's such a it's a bullshit answer. It's like, how easy is it? Oh, it's the easiest and the hardest, but it is actually true. Like, you can plug your Helix into your computer, plug your guitar into it, and you've got great sounds. Not amazing, you've got great sounds. Then, if you put the time and the research into reading that manual, going online, watching people's rig rundowns and stuff, you can turn them patches and make them amazing with stuff like IRs. And we have to talk about IRs in this because it's just one of them things now that happens. IRs are such an integral part now of people's tone. It's the reason why digital has become so usable. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have used a kidney being live, you wouldn't have used any of these things. In fact, when you was recording, the only real options was to mic up, but digital's come on such a long way, and a big part of that was IRs. So the fact that Helix has an IR loader, you can you can really customize the tones, but you really need to get into depth. Like, I had this 12 months before I even learned what pads were, and then when I turned the pads on, I'm like, wow, my tone just sounds better instantly, and it's because of the way the compression works in the pads. And you know, I'd had it 12 months before I learned things like when I'm recording, say like I'm recording in Studio One and I'm recording my my output with all my effects on, I can actually run a separate channel from 7 on my I think it's 7 on my Helix, and it'll record my DI at the same time. But it's just things like that you know, it takes time to learn.
Right.
And that's where I think the ease of use is a bit different with a Helix. Yes, you're going to get good sound straight out of the box, but it's only ever going to replace your whole rig and everything when you put the time to learn it. Yeah,
exactly, because it's so versatile, you know, where you're just like going with it when you obviously you know how to get started, but once you know how it works, it's going to take quite a while to get along with it, you know. And that's the same with Amplitude. You know, you install it, but it's not necessarily that you just plug in your guitar and your interface and that you're ready for recording, you know. It just doesn't work that way yet.
But one of the things I have seen with the Amplitude, like you were talking before, is the artist patches, or whatever they call them now, like the kits basically. And did you say there was a slash one? Like, click on slash or whatever. I don't know how it works with Amplitude. Do you like click on slash and then pick a song or something? There you go, you got that tone.
I think in Amplitude, when you want to use an artist preset, when you browse through the preset manager, you can see all the artists. So if you want to pick, let's say, Brian May, then you know you're going to end up with the Vox AC30, and with slash, you're going to probably be using a 4x12 Marshall with the JCM or something like that. And obviously, people might think like it doesn't sound completely like Slash, but that's the thing, it's how you're playing and what kind of guitar are you having, you know. So your pickups also play a huge role in how articulate the tone is going to be. But that's actually a really cool feature from Amplitude 5, that they have a lot of different artists presets and kind of libraries, you know, they can browse through. So let's say that you want to have a certain artist's tone, instead of like browsing through a Quipboard, for example, to figure out what he's using, you can just pick that preset, you know, and then all the amps and the heads and the cabs are all just ready to go, you know.
And you know, the Helix does come with artist presets. The difference being that the Helix really only comes with one patch per artist, which is gutting, because when they released the I think it was the 3.41 update for the Helix, I was well excited. I heard Devin Townsend was going to be releasing patches, and I installed it, and I got there and it was one patch. And I was like, oh no. I really just one patch.
Is that it?
You know, all these artists have one patch, whereas when you go in, say like Guitar Rig, when I had Guitar Rig and I bought the Rammstein one, I think it was called like Ramfire. I got 32 different patches.
So they pretty much base it on different songs, right? Or different albums?
Well, the way the Ramfire one was, it was more, rather than songs, it was just clean, double stack, tube screamer.
Right.
And there was like 5 different clean versions with different delays and choruses and stuff like that, but it was simple to go, I want to sound like Rammstein and I want a clean sound. Right, there's your 5 options.
Right, yeah.
Whereas on this, I don't think he has, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure because I've not checked, but if he did make a patch on here, it's just one patch.
Right.
Some of them are a little bit better than others as well, because you might have like an AB switch?
Yeah,
you may have an AB switch which turns it from a clean to a heavy. But the majority of them are literally like, this is my lead tone, and turn your delay on, turn your chorus on, and turn your
reverb
or whatever.
Yeah.
Turn them on and off, but that's it. And the thing with the Helix as well is, you're going to be spending a lot of time with the EQ.
Right, yeah.
Because as you said before, a big part of this comes down to what gear you're sticking in front of it. You know yourself, I had the Epiphone Custom.
Yeah.
And the Shuriken. And then if I made a patch for the Shuriken and I put the Epiphone in front of it, it didn't sound the same. So then I'd have to go and EQ, and you're constantly EQing for the guitar that you're using. And none of these patches that was made by these artists had any EQing done.
Nothing,
it would just,
right.
Yeah, it would just amp, cab, and a few effects. And it's like...
It depends also what you're using speaker-wise, because let's say that you're using a laptop speaker, there's no bottom end.
This is it.
You know? You're going to end up adding so much low end until you plug in regular speakers. And then you realize you need to tone down the lows, you know, because
but this is the thing about it, and like I said, I'm not hating on the Helix because I use it every day, but we're talking about one of the most expensive guitar audio interface effect boards there is.
Yeah.
There's only a couple that are more expensive than it. This is one of the most expensive out there, and the company that make it can't even get these people in who use it on a regular basis and go, can you make us a package?
Right.
5 or 6 different presets so that anybody can plug the guitar into it and have a clean setting, a lead setting, and
because you would expect that, you know, because these artists, they're in that game for years and years. They probably know exactly what they use, so they can just write down, for example, all right, for my lead, this kind of cab with this speaker, the gain that loud or that high up, the bass in that way, and then let's say for a pre-chorus I always use a dotted 8 delay, and then a chorus on 10%. These small details that you just instantly can tell, you know, it's such an easy job. But yeah,
this is the thing now. The Line 6 has something called the Line 6 Marketplace. So you can go on and let's just say you type in Pantera, and all these Pantera patches will come up, but they're user created. Now,
right.
Out of 100, you might find 2 or 3 that are good, and the rest of them, they're tailored to the guitar they're using. Let's just say it's the Pantera one. They're probably all using a DNML. So if you're not playing a DNML, you ain't getting the same sound, because this is one of the biggest things I think people misconstrued when it comes to this side of things. What you're putting in front of your audio interface or your Helix or whatever has a massive impact on your tone, because pickups have a low point, a midpoint, and a high point, and this is why you get, you know, so many different signature pickups and modeling pickups and stuff, because everybody wants certain different things. Like Korn play 7 strings. There's a good chance that if they had a signature pickup, it probably takes some of the bass out, whereas somebody who's playing a Fender Strat would probably want a little bit more bass in there to get rid of that really high end.
Yeah, so this is why you have a little bit more mid-range. Yeah.
This is it. So you have custom voice pickups. So if you just go and make a patch and expect it to work on every guitar, that isn't going to work.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're going to have to put the time in, and this is where, again, I say with the Helix. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel like Amplitude is a bit more forgiving than Helix, because Amplitude, everything's visual in front of you.
Yeah.
You can see what you're doing. When you click on a pedal, it actually looks like a pedal. And if you want to turn, say, like the compressor down, you go to the comp and you turn that down.
Just like how you would stomp on it in reality. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, when you're doing things through the HX edit on the Helix, one, you can hardly see the image of the pedal it's supposed to be, and then when you do load it up, you've got all these bars.
Just your sliders. You're
sliding bars, and it's like, what does that?
From left to right.
Yeah, what does that actually do?
Right.
You seen yourself when we was doing the amps, right? I put a amp in, and there's two things at the bottom. You got bias and bias X.
Yeah.
What's bias? What's bias X? There's
I've
no
never
thing
heard
on
of it.
there. I can click on it and it go, oh, bias. Yeah, it's how much your tubes are being pushed. It's like, well, why not just put a little Dropbox on there so I actually know what that is before I start moving things and completely, like, Amplitude's more forgiving because you can visually see what you're doing.
Right, you're having like a physical look of your paddle board in a way. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with Amplitude as well, where it's kind of limited in terms of pedals, I believe, because I don't think there is a possibility for two paddle boards. So you could essentially have two, but I think you have to do a whole different routing system.
Yeah, so when we were looking at yours the other day, the confusing thing with Amplitude that I found was the actual signal paths. So you can either have one signal path, 2 or 3, right? Now if you have 3, you have to have 3 amps and you have to have 3 cabs. If you have 2, you have to have 2 and 2 cabs, right? When you go on them signal paths, you have a section where you can add an effects board and it affects everything. The moment it splits, you can have 2 separate effects boards dealing with each amp, but the problem that you would have is if you're recording and you want to do something live, like turn on or off a delay, how do you pick which signal path you want to turn it on and off from?
I think for live setting, I think IK Multimedia has a MIDI pedal. I think it has 4 buttons, and I think you can MIDI assign them. But I think for separate chains, that's not possible.
This is what I'm saying, for the separate
even have to
chains.
buy like multiple of these pedals, which are like I think $80-$90, and then you have to mark them on stage with chain A and chain B, and then you have to stomp twice as many buttons, because it's not on a master on a one single.
This is what I mean, like ease of use wise, they're both very easy to use out of the box, but when you start getting to the nitty gritty and getting into the making it your own tone and your own sound, that's when you're going to have to really put the research in and really look at the extras, the optional extras that come, because like you said, Amplitube actually do MIDI controllers for controlling your rig.
Yeah.
But then you have problems when it comes to separate signal paths.
Yeah, exactly, because there is one preset from Distortion that I made custom, so I got like 3 heads, 3 caps, a couple pedals, but I have no idea how to turn the gain down. I just have to make a completely different preset, clean, because if I turn the gain down on one head, then you can just hear a little bit of a softer signal on the left side. It's not going to do the whole master chain or the master track, so...
And the other thing as well, which we was looking at the other day, is the thing. So when you make a patch in Helix, right, you have your signal path. You start off guitar input, you pick what it is. Is it a shuriken? Is it your guitar? Is it a multi, whatever? And then you can follow the path, and then you can add a delay and a tube and a compressor and a gate, amp, cab. And then you can split it, or you can just bring it back down to another signal path. You can actually run 2 simultaneous signal paths at the same time. And then the last thing you pick is your output. Is it going to your headphones? Is it going to the USB? Is it going to out, line out or whatever? And it's very easy doing that because you can see 2 lines and you follow it. When you was looking at the Amplitube, when you're running one signal line, it's easy.
Yeah.
to create your own patch. But the moment you start doing things like what we were doing, where you're trying to blend two amps together, you run in two separate signal paths, but they don't really seem to talk to each other, if you get what I mean. The two separate signals don't affect each other. They're completely separate.
Yeah.
And if you change something on your, say, like you set your first signal as your left and the second is your right, the moment you change something on your left, the right doesn't compensate it. So you hear that massive change in your headphones or in whatever your speakers and stuff. And it's just one feature that I never understood why they didn't have it, where them signals should really communicate with each other.
Yeah, I agree, because I would love to have my standard distortion preset and I can just roll off the master gain. But there are 3 gain knobs, you know, because there are 3 different heads. And then if you turn them all down, they're not gonna, it's gonna sound like the right side is louder instead of having more gain, you know, and that's gonna confuse if you're panning or not, but you're not panning at all, you know, just rolling off the gain, but it's not a master gain. So that's one of the downsides of Amplitude, of using a completely different preset for clean, you know, you can just not stomp on a button and then it's gonna take off the same gain from that entire preset. Yeah.
Whereas on the Helix you would just set up an A/B, you'd have your 2 amps and you just have, when it's in A it's clean, when it's in B it's gain.
Yeah, exactly, distort it. Yeah.
On ease of use, one other thing I've got written down here, which I don't want to go into too much detail about it because some people will get upset over it, but I think it needs saying. There's a lot of people out there selling packages of patches.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And a lot of them have no justification for selling them at the cost they are doing. £15 for a 5 patch package for Helix or for Amplitube is a complete waste of money.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know how these people are getting away with it. It just seems like nowadays anybody who's got a YouTube channel and, you know, 100 viewers brings out a package for £15 hoping that they're going to be rich.
Yeah,
and the only people that's getting ripped off are the people who's buying them. Any of them patches you see in them packages, they've either watched a YouTube video and copied it and then sold it on as their own, or they've been messing around, which is something you can do yourself. Don't buy packages.
Yeah,
Unless you really like that contributor. Let's just say it's somebody you've been watching on YouTube for 3 years, you really like him and you want to support him, then yeah, go ahead, buy it. But buying a package of patches is not going to make your tone any better than you learning how to do it yourself.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that all the packages that you buy, the gear is already in your software, you know, so you just have to figure out a way to configure it. And obviously it looks scary in the beginning, but many experimenting and watching videos or something like that, how to blend amps together, can save you a lot of time and money, you know.
You know, someone once told me you learn more from failure than you do from success. Messing around with something is how you learn how to use it. If you had the perfect patch straight from the beginning, you're never going to learn how to edit it when you need to. Like, you go and buy one of these packages and then it comes to recording, you realise there's too much bass. How do you roll the bass off? I don't know, because I bought it.
Yeah, it was all there, you know. I have no idea where the gain knob is. Yeah,
this is it. It's just learn the pro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's cool that if you buy packages in the future, you know, you obviously can, you know, but we would just recommend to make these from scratch, you know, because then when you start buying packages, you can make them 10 times better because you know where to apply a compressor on the master track with a certain release and all these other like small details you can apply to make it better, you know. But it's tempting to do it from the beginning because people are sometimes just thinking like, I have no idea, I just want to have an AC/DC tone, you know. And then I think like, all right, instead of like breaking my head over it for 6 hours, let's just spend 10 or 15 bucks on a preset. But then if they think like, they come back a day later and think like, well, it sounds a little bit too crunchy, how do I fix that? You know, they have no idea that they can mess with the mic placement, roll off the treble, mess with the middle on the amp heads, you know. That's something they miss out on.
Do you know what I would rather these people did? Rather than making these packages for $15 with 3 or 5 patches in, I'd rather they charge $15 for a video on how to create them patches.
Just from scratch, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just sell the video, you know?
Sell the video instead.
Yeah.
Here's a $10 video, but by the time you've watched it, you'll be able to create any patch you want.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how you tweak it, you know, and how I made this one from scratch, for example. That's actually a lot more value, because people will also be attempting to, I don't know, tweak the amount of gain or something like that. In a video, you can just rewind it over and over again. Like, where is that knob again? You know, if they got the preset, that's all they have, and they can just go and wonder where it's at, you know. But I think preset-wise, when you buy these packages, because I saw they're like artist packages for sale, they come really close. But when it comes to tweaking these, it's just better to develop a video or something like that.
Well, again, like we were saying a minute ago, dude, you go out and you buy, let's just say it's an AC/DC tone, right? The person who created that might be playing through a Gibson SG. You're not playing through a Gibson SG. It doesn't sound like AC/DC anymore, and you're like, oh, that patch is rubbish. Well, no, it's not rubbish. It's just because you don't understand how it works. You're presuming he has modeled that around the pickups that he's using. This is why something like a video would be more beneficial, because you'd be able to go, well, I don't have them pickups, but I know how to make the patch, and I can cater it to my pickups.
Yeah, and exactly how you compensate it. You know, like, oh, my pickups are really bright when I made that patch, but let's say that you just have a Squier Strat, for example, you know, that are just more to a general direction. Then you can show them like how to roll off a little bit of bass, the EQing, this and that, you know. That has a lot more value for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Right, so I think that covers ease of use.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, I'm sorry to people who are listening who might feel that this is going on quite a bit, but we just want to give you the best and most accurate information we can. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. I started playing guitar when I was 16. I'm 34 now, and at the time, your only real options was to use something like a Line 6 tone port to get your guitar to the computer, and then, you know, you had Cubase and stuff like this, but you could never do what you could do now. And through problem solving throughout the years, and, you know, trying to find the cheapest ways of doing things and everything, you get to a point where you understand things just a little bit more because you did it the long way. Yeah. Does it make sense? Like,
yeah, totally.
Anybody can go and buy Neural DSP and get the tone that they want. Great. That's absolutely great, but let's just say Neural DSP wasn't a thing. Let's go back 10 years. How do you get the same tone out of something like Pod Farm? You know, some of these really rubbish. Like, how do you get a kidney bean pod into your computer and make it sound good? These were the things that we had to tackle back in the day. So now that the technology is caught up to the point where we wanted it to be, having that extra information means we can fine-tune these things at a level where other people won't understand. They've never had to, so they don't understand it. Do you know what I mean? So
it's all just pre-made for them nowadays. You know, back in the day when you wanted to recreate the exact same patch, you'd have to do so much research in what kind of mics were used, what kind of cabs and speakers were used. But right now, it's just pretty much loading in a preset, and everything is in there for you. You know.
This is and like I said, there might be a lot of information in there, but just as 10 years ago, if I'd have recorded this video, you don't know what's going to be there in the next 10 years. So by putting these extra thoughts in now, when this stuff comes out in the future, you're already ready, you already know what you're doing. You've got that upper hand.